controversial, but I'm going to say there's not a lot of kind of on point girls at the moment. Like they're kind of just doing their own thing. Like yeah, controversial. It's true, but that's the thing. I want to see more of that.
All right, episode number 3. Let's do it. Today we actually have a guest with us, Becca here. I'm super excited to dive in and hear more of your story and share that with the audience. And so yeah, thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, wicked. Killer. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, I'm super excited for one, because not only is it our first guest, but it is controversial, but I'm going to say there's not a lot of kind of on point girls at the moment. Like they're kind of just doing their own thing. Like yeah, controversial. It's true, but that's the thing. I want to see more of that. Like there's not a lot of super ambitious go-getter girls that are just like these entrepreneur and personal development space. Like it's saturated with guys, which is not a bad thing, but it's awesome to see difference and having a female perspective on things, no matter what it is. It's a bonus. I'm super keen to kind of dive in and see what Becca has to say and what she thinks on things, really.
Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, it's interesting, looking at males and females in the entrepreneurial space. I guess I see a lot more females just through my social media and whatnot as well. And, it's interesting, there's masculine and feminine traits. I mean, we've all got both, right? But I see a lot with the feminine, it's more of the consciousness, right? So the males are more the intellect, the structured way of thinking, the strategy. And then in the females, we kind of almost need to sometimes bring them down a little bit to have some of that intellect and that structure, but it can go vice versa as well, right? It's the duality, it's the duality of life. We have both, and it's about, I feel like we're forever trying to figure out this freaking balance thing that's supposed to get us through 100%. Life. That's like, hold on, is it actually balance? I feel like that's like a made up thing.
And I love what you said in regards to how like the female brings down the mat. Like we balance each other out in certain areas. Like I know, for example, that women definitely make up for the deficiencies of men. Likewise, men with women. I think that's why we're weird sort of we work. Even though we got a lot of differences, we do have the same traits as each other in certain degrees, but the balance, I think, is really, really amazing. I want to ask you a question as well. Have you noticed a difference in your ability and your success in business and things like that? Because you've been a female, you're around a lot of males, I guess you could say how we think in certain degrees with strategy. Do you think that you have had an advantage because you're an ambitious female mind coming into a male-dominated sort of area?
Yeah, it's interesting because I sort of started off the same as Tom. Like we were in the digital marketing space, and that was like a sausage fest, right? Like it's all about the foods. And look, it was fun, but after a while, like it was just really repetitive. And look, I'm not going to say it's an all-female thing, but I'm the first one to put my hand up and say I'm not consistent at all. That's something you generally see in the masculine, right? Like the structure, the consistency. And I was always like, what the fuck's wrong with me? Like, why can't I just do the thing over and over again? But it's not within my biology. And I don't know if that's because I'm female. I feel like that's part of it, just based off a lot of the conversations I do have with females and with males. And you tend to see like the male side a bit more consistent, and then the female side kind of struggling with that side of things. And so starting off with the digital marketing, I was in this really masculine space. And whilst I learned a lot of really cool tech skills and, just upskilled and developed like all round, it wasn't something that really peeled my banana. Like it wasn't, I'm like, I don't really see myself doing this for a long period of time. And it was only really probably Nathan and Tom, like in the last year where I joined like a female sort of coaching group, and it was like female led space. There's about 30 of us in this container. And that's when I started to learn about the female way of doing business. And it was really peeling back those layers of all the conditioning, all the programming of, because we live in like a masculine society, right? Like it's so structured, and that's how it's been for the last, probably several hundred years now. And so being in this female-led space where you're told it's okay not to be consistent, it makes you realize that you're not a fuck up, basically. Like you actually can't fuck it up. Do you know what I mean? Like we always think we have to do it a certain way, and the way we think we have to do it is most likely the masculine dominated way, because that's what we've been brought up with. But when you can tap into the being, which is in essence the feminine side, right, instead of the doing, which is the masculine, that's where a lot of the mindset, the not so much the strategy, but it's the energy and it's the mindset, which is 80% of this game. I feel like it's 20% strategy and it's like 80% energy and mindset, right? So that was a bit of a game changer for me and a pivot when I was around other women and we were doing things in womanly ways, and I was like, oh, holy, like it's okay to feel the feels. Like we've got so many different cycles, like we've got a creative cycle, an energetic cycle, and then on top of that of have their menstrual cycle, right? So quite often
where the fun begins.
And a lot of women struggle with it. I did for years and years and years, and it's only been these last few months really that I've been on top of it, and that's through seeing a herbalist and just being like really attuned to what my body needs at the time. Like I think we really get into this mindset of hustle, do the thing, don't stop. And it's like, well, actually, there's a fine line. You're going to be able to recognize when to listen to your body and when to actually rest as well. And when you do take that rest and rejuvenate, that's when you can, that's where you see lots of movement. That's where you see great things happen, is when you're actually listening to your body, and it's getting past the guilt of that. I think, I don't know if it's a female thing, if you guys feel that as well, but it's like moving through that guilt of just doing nothingness for once.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's huge. And I think the industry as well, the space that we're in with like business and online business especially, is there's just so much like unrealistic expectations put on you. Like you see people winning in such quick time frames and you're like, well, holy crap, I got to do the same now. Yeah. And it's like, it keeps messing with your head, and that I love what you said about that guilt, because it's so true. We always feel that, we always feel like we're never doing enough, or we're not where we want to be, or we're just not satisfied, and I feel like that dissatisfaction is like really what keeps us where we're at, right? Whereas when you were talking about like being in the moment, being present, focus on like what you have available to you now and being grateful for that is like such an important thing. So I'd love to hear more about like how you managed to like tap back into that, because I know like when we started, because we both kind of started in the same pathway with digital marketing stuff, it's like very easy to go off track from that, like I guess kind of spiritual side where you're like more tapped into who you are as a person and just focused on being and in that moment and focused on what you can do, right? So I'd love to hear more of like how you kind of managed to tap back into that.
Yeah, look, it was a long process, and it's still a process, like every single day, but for the most part, I guess it's just making healthy habits habitual. And so one thing that I really found helped me in the beginning was having like a bit of a morning ritual, and it didn't have to be every morning, because let's face it, Becca's not going to do the same thing every single morning. Like, it's just not in my nature, as much as I'd love to. Like I just thrive on change, and so I'm mixing things up all the time. Like I don't have one, and I'm so okay with that now. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm inconsistent. I can own that. It's in society we're taught we have to be consistent, like you have to work hard to get here, and it's like it's breaking through those paradigms and being okay with the way that you actually are, instead of it's going with flow over force, right? So I found having a bit of a ritual at one stage really helped me, and so you can see it's a bit messy now, but I've got my altar there, and so I guess it was just waking up, and some days it was me just spending 10 minutes in gratitude, and I've been doing that recently as well. It's not something I do every day. I just listen to what my body needs. I've got a checklist here, like if I'm feeling sad or flat, I've got like a few things here that I look at, and so it's really coming back to the being instead of the doing, I guess, in a nutshell. And so it will be things like breath work, it'll be things like implementing meditation. Trainings are one thing that I am consistent with, even though it's kind kind of inconsistent. I don't have certain days that I do training or certain times. I just go with the flow with how, I think that's been my biggest takeaway, is just going with the flow with how my body feels instead of always forcing, but also recognizing when I need to push my body, you know, like if I'm just being a bit of a sloth and I've gone onto the other spectrum, that's when I'm like, okay, Becca, you need to pick it up and get your shit together. Okay. So it's just recognizing those different signs within yourself and what you're really being called to do. But I think for the most part, a lot of it's just movement, breath work, doing all the things that, you know, are going to be helping you with your alignment as well. Like plant medicine has really helped me a lot as well. I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole with that, microdosing with psilocybin and going for, you know, having hero doses as well. Plant medicine's been a very big game changer for me in the way that I see things and has helped me move through a lot as well.
I think it's really important we're especially in like this entrepreneur space. Like I don't want to just be bogged down to business and stuff, but all facets of life, health, with meditation, with anything like that we've got all these books that give you a formula for this is what you have to do. You have to meditate for 8 minutes and then you have to read 15 pages of book. And people get sucked in that they feel like they have to be doing these routine, structured things that works for some other millionaire. But in other books, they probably don't tell you have to try these herbal things or to do breath work. And so I think that you have to be a mad, crazy, psychotic scientist when it comes to creating and listening to your own body and understanding, okay, you know what, Nathan, if I meditate for 2 days of the week, I feel really, really good. You don't have to do it again, depending on what your goal is and your focus is, but you have to really try different things, different combinations of morning routines to really find out where your bliss point is, where you feel, you know what, I feel really cool, I feel really relaxed, I feel focused. Now let's go do some work. And I experienced it a lot of trying to cram all these routines in and all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
But I just feel burnt out. Like I don't actually do any work because I'm too focused on trying to do a routine. Well, I love what you said. How do you know if plant medicine and stuff works for you if you don't try it, if you don't dip your toe into it a little bit, see if it calms you down, gives you more focus. I think that's really, really important, that even though you have a bit of a chaotic workout here some days and do this and do that, but hey, it works for you. You seem like real relaxed, real chill, real kind of focused. And if that works for you, fucking hell, kill it. Like stick with it. It's all about being scientists and trying things. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. One thing I want to touch on as well is like a little bit of vulnerability here. Like I find myself always slipping back into like laziness, you know, and because I've been on like the flip side of the spectrum where I've like overworked myself to the point where I like passed out one night at 1 a.m. and had to go to the hospital. And like, that was not good. Right. But from that I've also been on the opposite side of the spectrum where it's just total laziness. And I guess like, how do you know when to kind of push and how do you know when to kind of hold back and relax, right? How do you kind of tell the difference? What does that kind of look like for you, Becca?
It's interesting the word you use. So is it laziness? Like what's your definition of laziness?
Yeah, definitely. So that's, for me, it's like I find myself doing this a lot where I know exactly what needs to be done. Like I know the exact tasks I need to do to get me closer to my goals. It's like so easily mapped out. I just have to act on it and I don't. Right. And I find myself like holding back for whatever reason it is. Maybe it's limiting belief or this or that. And just the actions don't happen. Right. I don't do the actions that I know I need to do.
Yeah, something that a friend and a mentor said to me the other day was, it was talking about the different seasons that we're in. And so we've all got different seasons, and with, you know, all the energetic cycles and all the other cycles that we've spoken about, it's really tapping into what season you're in at that time and leveraging it. For example, if you're feeling like, I have days where I'm feeling so super creative, I'm feeling really sparkly and I want to get on camera, and that's going to be the ultimate opportunity for me to come and like film and batch content for YouTube, right? And so I might smash out like 4 or 5 videos on that day because I'm in that space where I'm in my flow, and so I'm leveraging that. And then by doing that, I get my cup filled and I feel really good from that because I know I've made the most of it and I've been super productive. And so the next day I might not feel like that at all. I might feel like lazy, as you call it, but maybe it's not laziness. Maybe it's like your soul like calling out and yearning for just a bit of rest as well. Do you know? Like it's you really got to be able to distinguish when it needs that rest and when you need to push through.
And that's the biggest question I've always had.
sorry, Tom. That's the thing. Like, is that a female thing? I know for sure that I can't sit there and be like, you know what, Nathan, you need a rest day. No, motherfucker, you got to go get it. You got to go get it. And I know, Tom, you're laughing because I know you're the same, dude. Is it a female thing that we're like, you know what, fuck it, let's chill today? You know, is it? I don't know, because I don't think males, speaking from a male perspective, and a lot of other guys I know that are in the same realm. Yeah. There's no rest days. If you need a rest day, you're a bitch and you need to get up and go harder. Like, is that a thing? Are we? I can speak personally that it's a very much push thing. I woke up today and I'm like, oh, I don't want to work out, man. But then David Goggins was in my head, little bitch, go do some pull-ups, man. Go downstairs, go do some, and I'm like, all right, I'll go. So I'm doing pull-ups, I'm half doing them, but just showing, that's what interests me, and that's why I love, and I was actually really excited knowing that you're coming on, because the female brain is so different, but it interests the shit out of me how different perspectives on things. Like chilling, like I don't like that word. That word makes me want to throw up. Like relaxing, I don't know. I'm getting carried away, but that's what I'm talking about. It's so interesting to hear, and I know I'm in that boat 100%. Yeah, look, I feel like with the masculine, you guys are probably programmed and designed to, I guess, hustle like more than the feminine, right? But I feel like the hustle is also really romanticized, and it's not something that I would be posting on Facebook about and saying, yeah, hustle, man. Like it's a bit outdated now. And what I'm seeing in the conscious entrepreneurial space is more males becoming aware of that duality of being and also doing, okay? And so even though they might be 80% doing, they're becoming mindful, and instead of doing that 100%, they've now got 20% of the being as well, and they are paying more attention to, you know, that rest and that rejuvenation, and they are implementing a bit more of the feminine ways of business. It's so hard because the world has been reigned by the masculine way of doing things for so many centuries, and that's so deeply embedded, especially within you guys being males, right? Even you see like a lot of females as well. Like we've all got a different balance there. So yeah, I feel like it's something that is slowly shifting now. And look, like I don't know if you've heard of Scott Alford. He's one of my mentors, and he still like is built up multi 7-figure businesses and made millions and millions of dollars. And he still, like every month, I think he goes away for like 3 or 4 days and completely unplugs. That's where you get the reflection come in. Like instead of just doing all the time, I think we forget about the stop and actually reflect. And that's such a big game changer. Like if you're always doing, you don't really have that time to sit and look back and see what's worked, see what's going well for you, to actually check in with yourself and like, is this what really feels good for me? Because ultimately you don't want to be doing something for so long and you get to a point where you feel flat, depressed. I've been there, you know, suicidal ideation. I'm like, this shit, like I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. How did I get there? But you get there because your head's down and you're busy doing and you're not checking in with yourself, right? So yeah, that's I guess my observation from what I've seen over the last year, 2 years. Yeah, and it's crazy because like even like getting into those like little ruts, whatever you want to call them, it's like so easy because again, like you said, you're doing and you disconnect from sometimes what you actually need to be doing, which is like that relaxation or that creativity or like just expression or whatever you need to be doing. You ignore that stuff because you're constantly focused on, okay, what's the next thing I need to do? And it's like, again, back to that whole hustle culture, And I've been trying to work out what that balance is of like, how do you get to a point where you can just like be more in flow, right? Be more attuned to like where you're going, what you're doing, and it doesn't feel forced, Because a workout, right, for example, working out, we know we need to work out consistently and we know that it doesn't affect us if we miss a day or two, right? Yet still we push ourselves to do that extra day. Because why? Because it's the hustle, right? It's the showing up.
And we think that's what matters and that's what gets the results. But at the end of the day, like if you're in flow and you can, like, again, back to what we're talking about at the start of the conversation, you're attuned with, like, you're inconsistent, right? And you're okay with it. You own it, right? If we can get to that point, right, where we can own our inconsistency, we're like less likely to fall into those ruts and those like drop off stages, because we know what's going on. We're aware of it. We're aware of, hey, I missed a day or two. That's totally fine. I'm not going to like get all depressed about it. I'm going to keep on moving on because I know that's me in flow, right? It's me just rolling with my inconsistency. And so that's really what I'm trying to like push myself towards getting to, is like more of that flow stage, and like trying to not get so depressed about like, or guilty about not taking action and like taking those times to rest or creativity. Like yesterday, for example, I was in a like massive rut. And so I like was feeling really creative. So I'm like, well, hey, I'm gonna go do some art. So I did some art, created some digital artworks, and it was great, right? But I felt so guilty afterwards because I'm like, well, I haven't pushed my business forward one bit. And it's like, I want to get rid of that guilt, you know, because I hate having that over my head. It's like, I want to be in control of like feeling great, but it's hard to do that when you have that guilt. And again, like you were saying, all that programming and stuff, it's very, very difficult to get rid of.
Yeah, it really is. It's something that we're always doing, like and it's something you've got to be conscious of, and it's a lifelong process of deprogramming and deconditioning what's being put there. Because the story, Tom and Nathan, that we have is, you know, I grew up hearing from grandparents and my parents, you know, you have to work really, really hard in order to make anything of yourself, right? And so that already is instilling that we need to work ourselves to the bone, and you know, if we want to make something of ourselves. And so we grow up with that mentality, and it's so deeply embedded, and it takes a mixture of different things to really hone in and be able to like basically challenge those limiting beliefs that are there, and then create new beliefs for yourself. You need to make up something new to replace that old belief because it doesn't serve you anymore. And then it's, you know, a lot of feeling into the body as well, and like processing and moving stuff through. Like, I don't know if you guys, I actually cry quite a lot as well. You probably wouldn't think so. Like, yeah. I seem like, but I don't cry because I'm so sad and I want pity. Like, I cry because it makes me feel so much fucking better afterwards. Like, just 2 days ago, I had like a few days where I was going through this stagnancy and like feeling like this entropy and this like numbness. And then like a couple of days ago, I had this really good cry. Like, I cried 3 or 4 times, had a cry to my coach. And then afterwards I was like, oh my God, I feel so good now.
See, that's, I envy that. You know, I envy that. And I'm like, I'm laughing because I'm sitting there thinking, how are you going to do that, Nathan? I get, it's just that voice that's just that ingrained, like, why are you crying? You don't need to cry. But my sister does the same thing. She cries and she's like, oh, I feel so much better. Like, I feel good. She's in a good mood. I'm like, bro, are you all right? Like, are you good? It blows my mind that. And just to a point, I personally, I believe that physically working out hard and pushing yourself is imperative, not only for your mental tenacity to take on more difficult tasks and to give you the confidence to be able to achieve stuff, but I think it calms you as well. It really just, I guess working out really hard is like a guy version of crying. I'm kind of playing with things here. It just, when you work out and you get all that just energy and that anger and that just that stress out, and then you sit there and you're like, fuck, I feel chill. Like, let's watch a movie. Let's relax. And I think it's having that release, whether it's crying, which I've heard from that many females that it's like it's the best thing you can do. Like, you cry out all your shit and you're like, bang, I feel bougie now. I'm a bad bitch now. I'm back. I'm like, bro, you were just crying and now you're a bad bitch. What's going on here? But I think it's really important for whatever it is. And I think the premise of this is to find your release. Like, Tom, I know you're a super creative guy. You've created half the artwork for this shit. So like more, you've created all the artwork for this stuff, but that's your release. That's your crying. Yeah. My working out's my crying. Like, I think you need to find your crying, if that makes sense. You need to be good with, I need to just get rid of all this shit. I need to get rid of all of it and just understand that in order to progress, in order to take that big bird's eye view, you need to have a bit of a cry. Whatever your crying method is, doesn't matter what, but you really need to just take that big step back, understand where you're currently at, and get rid of all the stress, all the pressure. And so you have a real clear mind, so you know where to go from there. And I think it's really, really important. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I've actually thought about that. I was like, why do this female species do this thing? Like, what are they doing? And they feel good afterwards. What do you do? What sorcery is this shit?
I love how you put that, you know, find your cry. It's really, another way of saying that is to identify your outlets, whatever that is. Like I train, you know, in the gym mostly 4 times a week, right? If I don't go to the gym, or if I don't just move my body in some way or another, I'm not the same person. Like, that's actually, it's like a medicine for me. And as is food, like food is thy medicine. For me, I can't get away with eating shitty processed food because I feel like shit. And I don't feel good inside, and I feel sluggish. And so just naturally, I've naturally progressed through life, right? Just from being a teenager and exploring all these different things. And I've been obsessed with personal development since I was like 17, 18. Like, I was 20 years old once, a 40 degree day here in Adelaide, running up a hill barefoot because I heard that barefoot running was like really good for strengthening all the different ligaments in your
Such a vibe.
Yeah, I had dreadlocks and stuff at the time, was like totally going through, you know, a bit of a spiritual awakening. And I had blisters the size of like 50-cent pieces on the bottom of my feet because I would just push myself and try all these different things. And I still do that. Like, I'm still obsessed with finding these different modalities of how I can essentially biohack my body, right? But the one rule with that is there is no one size fits all. Yeah, for me, it's training. I need to train, or I'm not a fucking nice person. Like, I get bitchy on my partner. She's like, Becca, go to the gym. Like, seriously, you know, it's cold showers. I love my cold showers. You know, like, that really, it does something to me which I can't explain it. It's like that release. It's that outlet. So it's, at the end of the day, stuff gets stuck in our bodies, guys. Energy and emotions get stuck here, and they can be so deeply embedded that you don't even know why they're there. You don't even know why you feel the way that you do about things sometimes, right? And this is what I love about plant medicine, is because you can go so deep with that stuff, and you can unhinge a lot and do a lot of conditioning in one session. But for the most part, I think, you know, day to day, we need to pay attention to those day-to-day things, those small little tiny steps that we're taking every single day, and finding what actually works for us as a human, as an individual being as well, because not everything's going to be in alignment with everyone. You know, cold showers for some people, I'd get a slap on the face for suggesting that, you know, but others, you know, they're going to get off on that and be like, hell yeah, I feel so good, right? So it's all about, it's trial and error. Like, we're all in this human experiment, right? So we just need to figure out what the fuck works for us, basically.
Just try shit, guys. Just try everything and anything, and don't stop. Like you said, it's a never-ending pursuit of finding what works and what doesn't work. And just back to your point of, you said a lot of things build up. That's probably the biggest downside to guys, especially in this personal development stage. We don't express shit. We just, okay, I'm stressed. Why am I so bad? And we just keep plotting and not look at the root cause. And I'm just obsessed with the idea of these two different species aiming for the same thing, but going two totally, like, we're going up treacherous mountains, but you guys are just catching a bus, and you guys are chilling, and it's a more just laid back understanding the deficiencies, and it's exactly, because we think, no, that's for pussies. We got to go up this freaking hill. We got to go through fire because that's what you got to do. And I think we all need, for men anyway, we really need to take, you know, a leaf out of the female book and really be like, yo, it's okay to chill out and take a step back and declutter. It's really, really important.
Yeah. I think it's one of the most, like, a lot of the, I guess, the conscious guys that I know in my space, you know, they're not, the cautious isn't the word, but you know, they spend time with certain other males around them. You know, they go to men's circles and whatnot, and they tap into tribe's something that's super important. You know, a lot of the masculine, I guess this is very generalized, but you'd see more, you know, anger and frustration coming from the guys, right? And so a really good practice, you know, if you can't do the crying thing and get that out, a really good practice as a male is to go and have a bit of rage, right? Like there's actual rage fests or rage groups that you can go to where you get a pillow and you hit the shit out of it and you just go gnarly on it, right? And you just start screaming and, you know, you might have someone there that's guiding you through that. And I've been through that, and it's so expressive, and then afterwards you just feel so lit up, and that's just another outlet, right? It's, you know, I've seen it working really, really great for a lot of guys, because a lot of that anger and frustration is held within your body, so you got to move it to get it out, right? Start hit the soft stuff though, like you don't want to hurt yourself, right? So yeah.
We got to hit brick walls. Fellas, pussies. We got to hit brick walls, man.
I have to show everyone how tough I am, right? Like,
I'm so tough, guys. I broke every bone in my hand. Look how tough I am.
So tough. Yeah.
There's a bit of stupidity with it, isn't there? Just like that whole attitude of like toughness, you know? Yeah. I feel like we've got it all backwards in a way.
You got to laugh about it though. I think in life, a lot of the times you really do have to laugh about stuff. You know, I mean, one, less it makes an ugly stain, and then two, like if you don't laugh, you just fucking cry anyway, right? So, you know, that humor piece I think is so important. You know, we got to take the piss out of ourselves sometimes.
Definitely.
100%.
And like trying to disconnect the meaning from so much as well. Like not putting so much meaning on things that happen, because they happened. That's it. Like you don't need to attach any emotional meaning to it. It's like, it doesn't help you or benefit you too much. So that's another big thing.
That's the problem though with these days, I think, is that too many people are attaching emotions to themselves and what their thoughts are, and it causes such a rift, because you can't even have a conversation with someone, because if you say something, because they've attached this emotion to this particular word or whatever, they unleash. And instead of sitting there and like, you're a fuck up, I'm a fuck up, let's have a laugh. Like, yeah, I can't do this. Let's have a laugh, because I know other people like that too. I think too many people are so just bound emotionally to just certain aspects of their life, and it really haunts them. And I think that's where a lot of the insecurity comes from, because you can't put yourself in a situation where if you can't walk in high heels, oh, you're a piece of shit. Or if you can't box properly in the boxing ring, that you're a weak pussy. Like we have attached so much just emotional baggage to shit that you can't even take the piss out of yourself anymore without someone getting super cut and just having a sook. And it just grinds my gears, because I take the piss out of myself all the time. Like, it's what you got to do.
Yeah.
It makes things, like you said, it makes less of an ugly stain, and it's imperative that we've got to separate those emotions from aspects of our lives that we simply can't control, and laugh. It's simple as that.
Oh yeah. I think, like, for the most part, we really care what other people will think of us as well. You know, I go through stages where I'm like, I don't give a fuck, and I'm like fully in alignment, like living my life, right? Like following the bliss. And then there's other days where I'm like, oh, why did they say that about me? You know, like it's a forever process of coming home to yourself and getting in alignment. And yeah, it's that detachment as well from the outcomes, Tom, which is what you just said before, like detaching yourself from the outcome and just doing what feels good at the end of the day. But yeah, it's a big thing what we think about other people, isn't it? Like we're afraid to do things, and it kind of really drives the way that we live our lives, you know, because we won't do things out of fear. And hesitation is one of the biggest killers. Basically, you see it, you know, even with car crashes. You know, one of the biggest reasons that, you know, you see so many car crashes is, you know, actual hesitation on the road. And we do that in our everyday lives as well. We're hesitating because we're afraid of what others will think of us, instead of just doing the thing and being heard for who we are. It all comes back down to shedding back those layers, getting to the core of ourselves, and, you know, shining that and showing everyone what we're about. But yeah, we seem to be a bit scared of opinions, right?
It's scary.
Becoming authentic.
And it's because we're tribe like what you said, it's all about the tribe. We're all tribe orientated. We need to fit in because that's how it's always been.
Yeah.
A perfect example, just like they did a study where they brought a chimpanzee into another like tribe of other chimpanzees, and what the chimpanzee did, he had a certain technique of opening up like a nut, but because the other people of the other chimpanzees of the tribe weren't using that method, that chimpanzee stopped using his method, which was more effective, to use the other chimpanzees' method of opening these nuts. So it just goes to show that even in animals, that they adopt and adjust based on where they fit in and where they're going to be safe. And I feel like it's very similar to us, because we don't want to say that we like Taylor Swift because we're around a bunch of guys that like heavy metal, you know what I mean? So we disguise that and we hide that. And I think that's where a lot of the baggage and emotional unsustainability comes from, particularly in tribes and particularly in men, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you there.
Definitely. Cool. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I know we've been going for a little bit longer than we expected here, but I hope this was valuable to some people listening, and I appreciate you jumping on, Becca. I know it's hard to get your time because you're a busy woman, but appreciate you jumping on and sharing a couple of things. Really good.
I'm not sure about that.
Hey, Tom, she revealed her secret. She's going to cry and she's going to go to the gym. She's not doing much, all right?
Yeah.
I need to tell you.
I've got so many hacks for life, hey? Like, I literally just hack my way through life. Like, you know, I'm inconsistent, but the reason I look consistent on socials is because I've got, like, teams in place and I've got things streamlined, and I literally I'm just hacking my way through. I'm actually going to start a TikTok soon, and it's going to be all about hacks. I'm so excited for it. I'm going to get creative with it.
I love that. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, lads. It's been good fun.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Really awesome to meet you, and you're giving me some insights that I'll definitely take on board. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no worries. See ya.
Awesome. Thank you, Becca.
Okay, see ya.